Thank you for your support of KC Sports Network. And right now, before we get this show started, I've got to talk to you guys about Trade Coffee. Trade Coffee connects customers to the freshest and best tasting coffee you've ever had by partnering with some of the country's best craft roasters. We're talking fresh beans from 60 of the country's, again, best craft roasters. These are small businesses who pay farmers fair prices to sustainably source the greatest beans from all around the world. And what you do with Trade Coffee, you go to the website. If you go to drinktrade.com/KCSN, and what they're going to do is you're going to answer a bunch of questions about what you love about coffee. Do you like the beans? Do you like to be ground up? Whatever it is, picks your style, and then it'll match you to the best coffee out there that fit exactly what you like, and it'll send it directly to you. If you don't like it, they will reimburse that and make sure that you get exactly what you want. Trade has already delivered over 5 million bags of fresh coffee with more than 750,000 positive reviews. So right now, Trade is offering new subscribers a total of $30 off your first order plus free shipping when you go to drinktrade.com/KCSN. Again, that's more than 40 cups of coffee for free. Get started by taking their quiz at drinktrade.com/KCSN and let Trade find the coffee you know that you're going to love. That's drinktrade.com/KCSN for $30 off. And we appreciate Trade Coffee for being one of the sponsors here on this show for this week. And this is Outside the Trenches. I am BJ Kissel, joined by 6-year NFL veteran and former Super Bowl champion and K-State All-American Nick Leckey. Nick, I know you love coffee a lot more than me. I actually went through the Trade Coffee process, got it. I enjoy it. I love the fact that they make it really easy for you, and I enjoyed the coffee that I drink. We were talking before this. You're much more of a coffee connoisseur than I am.
Oh, I'm a total coffee nerd, and I even checked that box when I was filling out my subscription. And for all my coffee junkies out there, these are legit roasters from around the country. I saw Huckleberry Roasters out of Denver, one of my favorites. They had PT's, which PT's coffee out of Topeka has been around since like 1993. So this is back when we were still popping Folgers tins and put in your parents' Black & Decker coffee maker. So they even ask you, how you take it, if it's an AeroPress, if it's a French press, if it's a Chemex, if you like your beans whole, or if you like your beans ground. And if you like them ground, they will tailor it to how you like your coffee made and how you make your coffee. So there's a big difference, right? There's a lot of settings. Don't just use the old blade grinder. Get yourself a burr mill, right? About
I love that it's
$40.
I love this late at night when we're recording this, talking about coffee, and I'm just itching to grab a Bang Energy. Just found out through this, but I do appreciate it. I enjoyed the coffee that we've gotten. My wife drinks a lot of coffee, and she's got it, and it's great. But thank you to Trade Coffee, and obviously thank you to Jack Stack Barbecue, the OG sponsor of KC Sports Network and our show, Nick. Before KC Sports Network was even a thing, Jack Stack was taking care of us, and know that they've got the 6 locations around Kansas City, including that new one at 87th Street. They've all got all kinds of happy hour specials. So grab yourself some barbecue after you get coffee in the morning. Grab yourself a little lunch with a little Crown Prime beef rib, which, Nick, I know is your absolute favorite. I love the cheesy corn. So we appreciate all those sponsors for allowing us to sit here and talk to you about a little bit of football. And Nick, it's been a while since we've recorded, and everybody listening to this, you're following KC Sports Network. You're listening to all the shows. There's been so much draft talk, and we're going to be talking about it for the next 3 weeks. We're going to be doing all of these things, draft related, free agency. We've hammered that for a long time. So for this show, we're going to spring forward a little bit and just talk about the fact the NFL schedule is going to come out over the next few weeks. It had been a couple weeks before the draft, and they kind of changed that last year as the first week in May. We'll see when that comes out, but we know who the home and away opponents are, Nick. And we're going to talk about this because we were joking about before this may be the hardest schedule in NFL history for the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're not saying that light. There are stats to back this up. This is going to be an absolute gauntlet for the Chiefs to run through this year.
I mean, the past 2 years, though, I think we've said this. I mean, where it's like, if this year, especially, if we still had the BCS rules, the Chiefs could theoretically lose 4 games this year and still clinch home field advantage based off the numbers and computer system of the BCS. I mean, it's absolutely unreal. And then you sent me that thing. Was it Warren Sharp?
Yeah, Sharp analysis.
They had the pictograph. And I was like, oh, who's number 2? And man, the Jets. What? Who did they? When did the Jets piss off Goodell? Right? It's like that makes no sense. It's like I thought the Jets were like 2 and whatever last year. It's like wow, they can't let them.
No, and we're going to run through the home and away opponents and then kind of go section by section as far as, the divisions that the Chiefs are playing and what's going to stand out about that and what to kind of look for when the schedule comes out. I know there's an NFL rule. I believe you can only have 6 primetime games on your schedule, like by NFL rule.
Really?
It's shocking to me when you look at the AFC. I just feel like the AFC every game should be in prime time with what's happened in free agency, and especially within the AFC West. The AFC West should just be in prime time every time 2 of the AFC West teams are going against each other because of all the key moves. We're talking about Russell Wilson going to the Broncos, Devontae Adams going out to the Raiders, and then obviously with what the Chargers did, bringing in Khalil Mack, bringing in J.C. Jackson, these big-time Pro Bowl, all-pro type players, trying to take down the champs, try and take down the team that's won the division 6 years in a row. And let's talk about that. So the home and away opponents, and again, the Chiefs are playing 17 games this season, started last year, the NFL rules, adding that 17th game, taking a bye away from one team in the playoffs, where now you just get, one team in the AFC, one team in the NFC that gets that first round bye. A few different changes, but listen to these opponents for the Kansas City Chiefs. At home, you've got the 3 division opponents. We talked about that already. The Broncos, the Raiders, the Chargers. And in addition to that, home games for the Chiefs next season. Jacksonville Jaguars, probably the one where it's like, okay.
No,
but even then, but they've got
who'd they
spent
get?
a lot of money. They spent a lot of money on receiver. We don't have to get into this. This is not going to be let's trash what the Jaguars did in free agency and some of the money they gave out, because they're going to come out and they're probably going to play well.
Their head coach.
Yeah. You've got the Tennessee Titans at home. You've got the LA Rams, defending Super Bowl champions, at home. You've got the Seattle Seahawks, which it's not the same. Russell Wilson in there is Drew Lock. Is it Drew Lock?
That's a weird
starting
thing.
Quarterback.
I mean, come on.
Or maybe Baker Mayfield, whatever ends up happening.
Oh,
go to
wow.
Pittsburgh.
Jeez.
Who knows? Then you've got the Buffalo Bills, rounding out your home opponents. And then on the road, your 3 AFC West teams. And then you've got the Texans, the Colts, the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Bengals, the Buccaneers. And then you've got the 17th game. We talked about the Buccaneers. And that's the interesting one. We talk about the Bucs, and we'll get into this, but that game in Germany, that it's already been said that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to play one of those games. The Chiefs were awarded that market when the NFL International Committee came out. Should be noted that Chiefs chairman and CEO Clark Hunt is the chairman, or has been, that hasn't changed, of the International Committee. So it's very big for the Chiefs to expand their brand. You have the best player in football, going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, should he stay healthy. And so you want to expand that brand across the country. And what better way to do that? They played in London back in 2015. Now they played in Mexico just a couple of years ago, and now they have an opportunity to go to Germany. Chiefs have 9 road games this year. The Bucs have 9 home games this year. It would make sense for the Bucs home game against the Chiefs to be over in Germany. So I would expect that to happen. Hasn't been announced yet, but don't be surprised if the Chiefs end up playing over in Germany this year, which I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. I remember Germany. I never played in NFL Europe, but I knew guys who did, and they said that they used to have it all over, Spain, Scotland, London. And they said Germany, and Germany at the end there was the last teams, because the Germans love American football, absolutely love American football. So it would make sense that they'd want to expand into that market.
Yeah. The other thing, when I look at the schedule, it's always primetime games. And like we just said, the NFL sets that rule at 6. I fully expect the Chiefs to have six primetime games, just a little bit of everything.
Bengals, Bucs, Bengals for sure is going to be a Sunday night and a Monday night. I mean, that's what the NFL wants. Bills.
The Chiefs, Rams.
The Rams are always weird, though. Always weird.
They're the defending Super Bowl champion. Last time they played in prime time, it was supposed to be in Mexico, but the Shakira concert ruined the field. It is the Estadio Azteca. So they ended up having to play that game on the fly in LA. And I remember that because the Coliseum was under construction. So we were in a makeshift press box up there. I remember the Chainsmokers performing. Jay-Z and Beyonce came in, and everybody lost their mind. And it was like being at a rock concert and the football game happened to break out. It was a phenomenal game.
It was a great game.
It's frustrating.
Was that the Sorensen pick to end it?
No, they lost that. That was down in Mexico.
I was thinking Chargers
Rams when they lost.
I was thinking Chargers. Never mind. Chargers Mexico.
The Rams one was that Monday night. Everybody scored, like nobody could stop anybody.
That was
the only thing I remember that game frustrates me, and that was the only thing I remember about that game is frustrating. It's not fair to Chris Jones, but there was like a fumble and he tried to run with it and pick it up and he fumbled it, and then they got the ball back, and it would have been like whoever had the ball last, and that's what I remember about that game. But look at some of those home games. Like, it's a pretty good home schedule for the Chiefs. You're looking for like tailgating and all that kind of stuff.
It's amazing.
I like the Rams, Titans. It's not that far away. Nashville, those fans are excited. They're going to travel. Bills, always going to be a great game. 13 seconds. Like, that's going to be remembered. So anyway, a lot of good ones. And then that road game, if you're looking for a road game to go to, I'm not going to dog on Cincinnati, but that's just going to be fun. That's just going to be a fun game to go to. I think we might take KC Sports Network to that game.
It'll be Monday night.
Game we're going to. If there's a road game that KC Sports Network we're going to go to, it's going to be the Bengals game. And I would be shocked. Yeah. To your point, if that wasn't a primetime game.
Or probably they'll probably do it Thursday, right? Make it a Thursday game.
That wouldn't be fair to either team. Like, do that against like the Jags.
Right. I know. Right? No,
do that against the Jags and give us a late bye.
Well, that's even look at the opponent. Like, even the schedule, they have more away games too. It's like a total dick move to the Chiefs. It really is.
Well, it rotates every year. So last year the Chiefs had the extra home game. We'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, let's start with the AFC. Let's go to the AFC West and what that's going to be, because nothing matters if you don't win your division. As everybody talks about what everybody else is doing in the division, are the Chiefs going to be as good? Win your division and you're in the playoffs. And then once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. If you're healthy, your Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, whatever happens on defense. And we can talk a little bit about that because the matchups are going to matter. Who is going to be the starting right tackle for the Chiefs with the duo of pass rushers that every other team in the league or in the division has right now? They've got to get that figured out. If it's Wiley, and that's fine. He's stepped in and played there, but it's a question that they have right now of, is he the one who's, is he in there in pencil or is he in there in pen right now? Like, what does that look like according to Brett Veach, the personnel staff, Andy Reid, all those guys, as they continue building this roster? But when it comes to the AFC West matchup and what the teams have done, which opponent are you most, I don't say worried about, but just looking forward to the Chiefs lining up against because of all the smack talking that we've seen between fan bases in the middle of March?
It honestly, I mean, I think that the Chargers game in December, I think Chargers should have won. Like, honestly, I think the Chargers they dropped 2 or 3 touchdown passes, and it should have been easy victory.
Chargered it.
Easy dubs. Yeah, they chargered it, right? Yeah, they raided it. The Chargers raided it, right? They did. But then honestly, it's that, or I mean, look at the Broncos. Even the Broncos, like they put it to the Cowboys, and then they almost put it to the Chiefs. It was a low scoring game. If it weren't for that fumble 6, Chiefs would have lost to the Broncos. And now you get Russell Wilson, who provides a credible threat on offense. I think the Broncos kind of know how to get these veteran quarterbacks and insert them in the system and get a Super Bowl, right? With Peyton Manning. So that's kind of their mode of operation.
And we talked about this before with the Broncos last year going into the season, of that wide receivers room was dangerous, and a lot more dangerous than, the quarterback play allowed them to showcase what kind of talent they had. With Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler. I mean, those guys can play. And Jerry Jeudy, I thought was going to be an absolute stud, and it still has a chance to be. Cortland Sutton is a stud, and he is a problem in this league. And again, Tim Patrick, they've got some guys that can take care of you. But to your point, it's the Chargers. Justin Herbert is a blossoming star in this league, and it's okay as Chiefs fans to say that and give credit to other people also being good. It doesn't mean Patrick Mahomes still isn't better. We're going to take him. Chargers fans are going to take Justin Herbert, and that's what you would expect. They're Chargers fans. They're going to support their guy. But you get Khalil Mack, you've got Joey Bosa, you've got Derwin James, you've got all of this firepower that they have finally got a young quarterback. It's not Phillip Rivers. You got to go out there and make plays. They gave Mike Williams a ton of money to stay and be that weapon. Keenan Allen can still go out there and make plays. So the Chargers game, I hope it's like a week 1. I actually want to see that right off the bat. I do.
I don't, because you don't know what you're going to get. And it's like,
that's exactly why. Think about how much different the Chiefs offense is going to be. I want Andy Reid going up against them week 1, because you have no idea without Tyreek Hill. You have no idea it's been talked about and theorized of the Chiefs are going to change up their offensive plan because they're getting bigger bodies. They're less worried about speed, less worried about Tyreek. Whatever the Chiefs are going to do, I'd rather them face the Chargers week 1, and the Chargers have no idea what they're going to go out there and do, what Andy Reid's been drumming up out in Point Loma in California, drawing up on napkins.
Is that when he's at Hardee's out there? They still have a Hardee's out
like
there?
3-day. I don't know this. I think he takes like maybe like 12 hours off a year, and he's drawing plays up in his beach house.
In Point Loma?
I'm excited to see what he's got somewhere out in California, out in San Diego somewhere.
That's awesome. That's such a beautiful spot. It really is.
Yeah.
Well, and it's amazing to me with that. I mean, and then again too, I look at this and to me, I think the biggest star will be Darren Waller with Devontae Adams. I think that's the duo we didn't know that Derek Carr needed, to be honest with you. I mean, that's going to be a cool.
He's a problem.
I mean, he's a big problem. He's an absolute. And then you got Devontae Adams, and it's like the Raiders could sneak everyone and win the damn division.
I don't think they're going to win the division, but the Raiders made themselves dangerous enough to just annoy people. Like now they're good enough to they've got absolute studs. I don't think they're consistent enough to compete with the Chargers, the Chiefs. I don't have any problem with Derek. Like, I don't think Derek Carr is as bad as a lot of Chiefs fans think he is, because he's had some really, really bad games against Kansas City.
Yes.
But there have been times you watch him where he just goes out there and deals, and he can go out there and play. And Devontae Adams is a legit star. Like, if that doesn't need to be said already. But I still don't think they're consistent enough. And they don't have the firepower to play person for person throughout a 17-game regular season to finish like the Chiefs are. But any given Sunday, they have enough talent to go out there. If you don't play well, they're going to beat you. And 100%. That's probably the biggest thing with what the Chiefs are facing, is that I actually like it. And this is being said, I actually like the fact that everybody else is better, because the Chiefs have won the division 6 years in a row. They have had a level of success that we have never seen in Chiefs history. This is the golden age of Chiefs football.
Yes.
I take pride in the fact that every team in the AFC West, every team in the division, every team in the AFC is loading up to try to beat the Chiefs, to try to have the kind of success that we have. As worried as you are and as annoyed as you were in March watching free agency, watching everybody else make moves and the Chiefs don't, imagine how special it's going to be when you go out there and beat these teams that spent all this money talking all this trash in March. They still have to go out there and beat them. And you're telling me that when Patrick Mahomes steps out on the field, with regardless of who the offensive weapons are, and Juju Smith-Schuster is good, Marquez Valdez-Scantling can go out there downfield and make plays, you're going to tell me you're not confident that they're going to be able to go out there and score points?
I mean, I think honestly, and this is the first time since who's the Clemson wide receiver, Sammy Watkins, and Tyreek Hill. I mean, this is the first time I think the Chiefs have had two credible and not targets, wide receiver targets. Right. I think the MVS and the Juju, I think that's the first time the Chiefs. I mean, can you think of a time in Mahomes' career where he's had two wide receiver threats?
Well, yeah. I mean, the two guys you just named, I would agree that Tyreek Hill, I would not call him a gadget player or anything like that. But I do think that and this is not answering your question directly, but I do think when you have a guy like Tyreek Hill with his skill set, that there is pressure to set him up to utilize the most explosive player in NFL history the way he is. Tyreek Hill is not a gadget. Tyreek Hill can go up and make a physical contested catch just like anybody else. He's not the biggest player in the world, but I can definitely see there's a difference of Juju Smith-Schuster is not the same kind of player, not the same kind of physicality with his size, his athletic. And he's very athletic for where he is. He's a slot guy. He's going to go across the middle and make big physical contested catches. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, a bigger guy, but still a guy who's going to go down the field and make plays. And so do I think, and maybe this is just the positive side and we want the team to be successful, is that it's going to be different. And maybe they won't feel so much pressure to not say force the ball to Tyreek, but to try to game plan to get him in space, because all we got to do is get the ball to him and nobody within 5 feet. And that's enough for him to make something happen. Or now Mahomes can sit back, read a defense, which is something he never gets enough credit for something that he is very, very good at. We talked about before, the mental acuity of playing that position. We get so enamored with the physical stuff. Maybe we're going to see more of that. And long-term, is that better? But to your point, I don't know if it's having two legitimate wide receivers as much as it is you don't feel the pressure to try to get the ball to a guy that everyone knows is the most explosive player in the NFL. I think that could be a good thing, and that it opens up everything else. But
well, it's going to be a great thing, because I think the play calling last year was as the kids say, sussy at best, totally suspect. And it's like, I think this forces Andy Reid to get a whole bunch of cocktail napkins. And you know what? Let's rewrite the whole playbook in Point Loma. And so this is what it's going to do, because you're right. It's like, man, you feel obligated to get Tyreek, because then you look like a shitty coach if you don't, get him the ball, and he can make you look good too. So it's going to be good. It's going to be really good.
I'm excited to see what the differences are. And I think that that's part of what makes Andy Reid so good at what he does. And this is where you got to give, we credit Andy Reid with being one of the best coaches currently in the NFL. And he's like top 5, top 3 in like wins all time. He's one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. Let's give him some benefit of the doubt when they're making decisions like this, that he's going to figure it out and they're going to have a plan. We don't see it in the moment. We see it after the fact. But you can't praise him and say he's one of the best coaches in NFL history and then not give grace in these kind of situations to be like, let's see what they do with all of the draft picks for trading Tyreek Hill and all of the money that they save by not giving him $72.5 million guaranteed. I still don't believe that you're not going to convince me and any Chiefs fan that's thinking straight that they're going to be more explosive or better without Tyreek Hill next season. That doesn't mean they still won't be good enough to go and win football games. And that if Brett Veach, and I know it's wishful thinking, but it's an exaggerated example, but if he uses those 4 picks and those 4 picks become Pro Bowlers and all pros and Hall of Fame players, he's gonna be lauded as the greatest GM in the world. He's not lauded as a great GM because he hands a blank check to a guy like Tyreek Hill. You don't have to be a great GM to be like, I'm gonna make you the highest paid player in NFL history. You become a great GM by trading a guy that is the most explosive player in the NFL. You get assets and then you hit on those and they help you win a few Super Bowls. That's when you're credited, and that's when he should be credited. Don't judge the meal before it's done being cooked. And that's what's happening right now. At least have the patience to let it play out and hope for the best, but understand, like, Tyreek was great. We don't win a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. Absolutely.
100%.
Nobody blames Tyreek Hill for wanting to get paid and go to a state with no income tax. And I like the pictures that he's still wearing, like his Chiefs necklace, like right now. Right. He's like out and about. He loves it. And he's always going to have Chiefs always going to have a special place for him. So, those AFC West matchups though, man, like I'd be surprised if most of those aren't in primetime. Like they need to rewrite those rules to give more than 6 primetime games. Because they're going to deserve it. But the other division within the AFC that the Chiefs play, and they rotate every year between the 3 other divisions in the AFC, they're playing the AFC South. So again, that's the Titans, the Colts, the Texans, and the Jaguars. Of all those matchups, the one that stands out to me, obviously, is the Titans. Like that's the one that looking most forward to. The Colts, see what happens with them this season. I feel bad for Ballard. He's been trying to figure out his quarterback situation for a very long time. I don't know if Matt Ryan is the answer at this point, but that defense is legit, and they are very, very good. The Texans,
I don't know about
I don't either, but I'm rooting for Davis Mills just because of everything that's happened. Like I want him to go out and have a lot of success, just from a football perspective. And then the Jaguars, we'll see what happens there. I love Doug. He could get if anybody's going to bring along a young quarterback, I think he was a good hire.
Agree. No, and that's why they did
Trevor Lawrence along.
That's why they did it. They credit Mahomes. They credit Mahomes' success with Doug Peterson. So, he can only help out.
Not Doug.
Can say that. Well,
that was before, but Doug Peterson was, from the time that he was there, like entering the league. He was the quarterback when Donovan McNabb came in.
Who else?
From the time that he was a player. Brought along, he was Alex's guy. Nagy, Mike Kafka was the guy when Mahomes got drafted. It was Nagy and Kafka. Nagy was with Alex planning, and Kafka was with the young quarterback, and they kind of came up, and then Kafka moves on. Now Nagy is back to probably help Mahomes in that way. Is that weird Nagy, Eric Bieniemy? What are the responsibilities going to look like between those two from a week by week basis? I'm guessing that Nagy is going to be with Mahomes on like the passing side. EB is going to help with the game planning stuff. And then obviously Andy Reid's going to call plays. And I think we've talked about this before when it comes to play calling, where it's not like you get a drive, I get a drive when they split up play calling. It's like alternating, like it's Little League basketball. Like now it's the next team turn. It's very much like it's you know what I mean? It's like a situational thing. It's like you get the 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like It's like you get the 2-minute drill, you get red zone, you get these special scenarios, these special cat situations that you're game planning for all week, because then it's special. Like, hey, we're in the 2-minute. That's what Doug was his last year. It's like, you've got the 2-minute. I think Andy Reid made some joke back then of, Doug started calling plays after the Steelers game was the big joke because the Chiefs didn't lose a game after the Steelers when they went on that huge run. And then he ended up getting that Eagles job. But yeah, I think of the 4 matchups against the AFC South, it's the Titans one that I'm looking forward to. I think Mike Vrabel's done a phenomenal job down there, and they've got some guys
toast when they lost Derrick Henry last year, right?
Yeah,
and
it's a team that's going to take on the personality of its head coach, and they absolutely have. That's the one I'm looking forward to, and yeah, the rest we talked about this schedule being toughest in NFL history. It's not because of the AFC South. No, this is not the part of the schedule that, especially with the Texans and the Jaguars. But you never know.
That's why you really don't. And I love Vrabel. Have some, one of the few guys who make it out of the New England tree and kind of do his, cut his own, sort of way and have a lot of success too. Like, you fear the Titans now because of Mike Vrabel. And I think that's really cool. And I don't think I can think of any New England Belichick coaches who have succeeded outside of the Belichick-Brady combo. RIP on that combo.
Completely not relevant to any of this, but like, talk about like head coaches having like Twitter. Mike Vrabel earlier today, I think it was today. Was it today or yesterday? Will Compton, who has the podcast now with
Barstool, with the boys.
He tweeted out something. There's a quote of Mike Vrabel saying, "The best make it look easy." And Mike Vrabel quote tweeted it and said, "I hope you don't think I was talking about you."
Oh, wow. Well, yeah. Well, it's funny because
that's great.
On that show, they talk about how like Taylor Lewin talks about how Compton was like Vrabel's favorite. Like, they're like boys and like hang out and everything like that, but just treats them like absolute horse crap on the field like when they're playing. Yeah.
That's what we were talking about that before we recorded. Like, those coaches that are like hard on you and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
These are the guys you'll do anything for. Like, you've got to be willing to take it like that, and a lot of people aren't, and that's why it'll be different discussion. But let's move on to the AFC. That's the AFC South, and then obviously they're also going up against the NFC West. Little different look this year without Russell Wilson being in Seattle. But again, that's the Rams, defending Super Bowl champs. The Cardinals still have Kyler Murray. I don't know what's on his social media right now, but he's still a dangerous picture yet. Deebo Samuel just did the same thing, and I hope this doesn't become news where every player that's in a contract dispute just decides, you know what, I'm going to take all this stuff off my social media, because it starts generating a lot of buzz and it starts annoying fans, and then the fans get restless, and if fans get restless, they don't buy tickets, and all of a sudden the organization starts feeling pressure. And so this is how they create leverage. And
it's smart. It's a way to leverage digital media.
It's just annoying. The whole thing's annoying.
Well, just realize they're just trying to get paid in the offseason. And remember, these guys have nothing but time on their hands. So it's like, why not? Right? Why not? All you got to do is work out and watch film. That's it. That's your work day in the offseason.
Because it works. So they should just pay the players whatever they want, because all players are underpaid anyway.
That's true too.
But all right, you got the Rams, Cardinals. Talk about the 49ers. That's a really interesting one this year. With their quarterback situation, and I'm assuming it should be Trey Lance at some point. They got to get the young kid in there and play. And then Seahawks. And I know it mentioned Drew Lock earlier. I'd love to see Drew Lock now go out to Seattle and have a lot of success. That would be awesome. He's got some weapons. I mean, Tyler Lockett, our guy, and then DK Metcalf, who could have been dangled out there in a trade. Could have been everybody. But apparently he's staying.
Yeah, it's one of those things too, where, you don't want to come in and waste a year on an unproven talent, or a guy who couldn't get it done in Denver. And I get that frustration if you're a player. So we'll see how valuable he is, if he can survive through draft. We'll see what the Seahawks want to get in the draft time. So this could change it up significantly too, if they get a Russell Wilson type, or if they go away from it, right? It's like one of those things where, Kim Kardashian, right, was married to Kanye and then went the opposite way, right? So the Seahawks could do that, or they could, or they could get another Russell Wilson type, or they could get, something totally different. You like that? You like I put that in there? I'm sorry for everybody.
I was trying to think of who's the Pete Davidson of quarterbacks in this draft. I don't want to put that on anybody.
I don't think
put
he's
that on anyone.
Athletic build type, right? Exactly.
He's doing something right. All right. Yeah. Let's move on because they play the NFC West, and then because of the way the NFL schedule is playing that 17th game, they're playing the division. We talked about the division winners for the two divisions that they weren't playing this year, being the Bills and the Bengals. And that's why they're playing them because of that 17th game. Now they're also playing the division winner in the NFC division, being the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We talked about that game potentially being over in Germany. Now it looks Tom Brady is back again, probably going to be playing really, really well. Just absolutely crazy. At one point in my career, or in my life, like I really liked Tom Brady. Now I'm just sick of it. Like I'm just over it. The one thing I will say that I love about the fact that he's back is I hope that they have a lot of success. I hope they go back to the Super Bowl. I hope Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs kick the ever-loving shit out of them. So for the rest of time, when Patrick Mahomes wins 9 Super Bowls in his career, that everybody out there is be like, yeah, but he never beat Tom Brady. That's what's going to happen right now. And it's completely valid. I know he doesn't face him.
Technically,
I know it's not real. I know none of this is real, but as somebody who's going to be drinking in a bar in 15 years and arguing with people, this is absolutely going to happen. And I want that gotcha moment. Be like, no. Like we beat him in 2023 or 2022. It happened.
Are you going to be that guy, DJ?
We're all that guy. Every fan out there is that person. We take it. It's personal. It's emotional.
I like that. You know, what's funny? I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, I guess I root for the Chiefs, but I'm not diehard. Right. So I'm like, I think I'm just still jaded. I don't have a team. I'm from
bring
Dallas.
You into our world.
Cowboys. I'm getting there. I don't know though. I was here in 2012, and I did the Chiefs pregame show in 2012. So I've seen the gamut of Chiefs football from high to low. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to hop on that train.
True story. Check it on Twitter. Put $100 on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl in 2012.
What?
I would have won a lot of money, but
did you say that?
Statistically went out there and had like the worst season in franchise history from like point differential.
Yeah.
I remember looking up the stats that in 3 of the 4 years with Todd Haley and Scott Pioli, it was like 3 of the first worst seasons in Chiefs history in terms of like point differential. And that was when I was writing at Arrowhead Pride and like creating content about the worst team. It was like me and Craig Stout and like Seth Kaiser, Matt Verderam, all these guys that are creating content at all these platforms now. We were all like we were all facilitating discussions.
That was tough to do.
Awful football team.
That was tough to do.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah. And I remember too, who's our Adam Schefter? Adam, what's his name? Teicher. Love him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like talking to him like, dude, how does this work on? Because when they went to ESPN, right, took all the rights for all the everyone became ESPN, whatever. And he was like, yeah, it sucks, dude. The Chiefs lose. And I'm like, I get like pushed to the bottom. And it's like, so it's like I said, if you struggle then you should get first now too. And then when did we start, dude? When did you and I start with the Chiefs?
2017-ish.
Well, before the good stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, they were the whole 6 years I was with the Chiefs, they were always good.
Yeah.
Like they either won the division, they were always competitive, they were up there. It was never like really, really bad, but it didn't. I don't want to get off on another thing, but from social media, there were still people telling me like they wish the plane crashed and all these things. Even though the team was winning. Like, dude, it's so bad. It's a different discussion, and I want to talk about small, very, very quick plug. If you haven't had a chance to go read Sam McDowell's story and interview with Tyrann Mathieu when he caught up with him last week or a couple weeks ago down in New Orleans, I strongly recommend going and reading that. I'm not going to pretend to say like Tyrann and I are close. I've been around him a lot. We have a good relationship. We had some really cool conversations where we were very real with each other. And so I respect him because he always spoke his mind. And a lot of people don't now in this PC culture. You don't hear how people actually feel. And then we just attack people when they tell us how they actually feel and then get mad when they give cliches. And it's like, you can't have it both ways. Just be real, say what you mean what you say. And that is absolutely Tyrann, and you should never have to apologize for that. But I thought Sam did a great job with that story, kind of painting that picture of a guy that he feels, he's emotional, makes him who he is. And I don't think he should be knocked for that. I respect the hell out of it.
Agreed.
So go read that story if you haven't already. But Nick, as we wrap up this show, do you have all these games that we just talked about, the 17 games again, Warren Sharp analysis, all the rankings as far as strength of schedule, like it's not like Chiefs have the toughest schedule as it stands right now. Obviously, key injuries can change some of this stuff, and you never know with an NFL season. Some of this teams are going to come out of nowhere and be really, really successful. But of all these matchups, what are the couple that really stand out to you? Is like that's the one that's going to be in prime time that I am making a date to make sure I have nothing else going on that day. I'm watching this game.
Here's the thing, and you can go through it and you can check my phonetics. Any team with a B mascot, it should be prime time. Broncos, Bengals, Bills, Bucks. So all the killer bees, it's prime time.
Bargers.
The bar.
We put the Bargers in there because those are the ones for me. It's the two. It's the division games.
The Chargers.
It's the division games, and for me, this is all going to be about the division because I don't care what the record is at the end of the season. And I didn't care. I mean, we were all frustrated when they started 2-3, and everyone thought the world was coming to an end, and they still ended up in the AFC title game. And there were a couple of plays. I wasn't either, but I had to do shows post game, and I'm not going to say I was happy.
I was not
a lot of those games.
I didn't say I was pleased, but it wasn't.
But the goal is the goal, and the goal isn't to start 5-0. The goal is to win the division and then win the AFC. And they didn't win the AFC, but they were right there, and it didn't matter. They had a slow start, so it doesn't matter. We'll see when the schedule comes out how tough or easy it is at the beginning. It's not going to matter because nothing happens until the second half of the season, where teams start to separate themselves. Unless they start like 2-7 and they're out of it. They're around 500 and they're figuring it out, and they've got some new players, and whoever's playing defensive end, whether it's Melvin Ingram who hasn't signed, whoever's opposite, Frank Clark. And how much is he playing? Is he a situational pass rusher? Is he an every down guy? How healthy is he? Is he a guy who's played through injuries pretty much his entire time in Kansas City? What does that look like? But for me, again, Nick, it's the division games because of what's transpired. And I'm fired up about the division because that's where Andy Reid always starts. Everything is about the division and winning that division first. But with everything that the Raiders did, bringing Devontae Adams and the Broncos, again, bringing over Russell Wilson, the moves they've made, the Chargers making all of those moves, all the cockiness that all these fans are coming up with, it just eats at my soul as a diehard Chiefs fan, where I want nothing. I love the fact that they did it because it gives them all hope. Like I was during the first week of free agency, Nick, I was in South Carolina with my family, walking on the beach, getting on, and I took a break from vacation. I was tweeting out, like, let it all play out. And the more I saw like all these fans of all these teams, like getting all excited, it's like, that's exactly what you want as a Chief. I want them all feeling themselves and be like, oh, this is the year we're going to take them down. And you still go out there and beat them. Like there's nothing better than everyone else trying to beat you, throwing all this money, making all these moves, be like, this is finally our year. And they still go out there and Patrick Mahomes makes you his dad. Like he's your daddy. Like, and he's going to continue to do that. Like Broncos haven't beat him in forever. Like I love it.
Hey BJ, when you're at these bars drinking, are you gonna take your shirt off and go, let's go then right now? When you're arguing like on the strength of schedule or anything like that, 10, 15
they
years
go
from now?
6 and they go undefeated in the division. I will be at Kingdom Bar waving with my shirt off, like it will be not safe for work.
I might make it out of the house for that one. I might
that last game, undefeated going to that last game. You're gonna want
to but you can. I mean I want to see those undefeated Patriot shirts that they had to send to another country, right? Like I don't want that. You got to lose one, just lose one or two, just get that off. Like
just within the division. I'm talking just division games.
Just going undefeated division.
They beat the Chargers twice. They beat the Raiders twice. I mean, they went 5-1 last year.
That's unreal.
Lost to the Broncos and I don't know off the top of my head. I would have known like 4 years ago. I had all these stats off the top of my head. Matt McMullen knows. I guarantee you that. But their record against the division is stupid. Like Andy Reid has dominated that division. That's why they're so annoyed and they're making all these moves. And that's why I love the fact that it's like you did everything in your power. You emptied the cupboard financially, trades, everything to try to compete with the Chiefs. And if they still go out there and beat you, how despondent are they going to like? They're just going to be done.
Crushed.
And you thought Chiefs fans were insufferable before? Oh, I'll be leading the charge. And I'm normally pretty like here,
level-headed,
but with everything that happened this offseason, like you did everything you could to come at us.
You're the Michael Jordan meme, right? You're like, and I took that personally.
It's exactly like I did. That would be the most overused meme in Chiefs Kingdom history.
Yes,
that Todd Haley hot dog gif.
Oh God, that is
Google that one, Nick. That was a good one.
I don't want to. I really don't. But
The
it's
Matt
like
Castle hat. That's a good one.
that's funny. That's a great one. He played it off well. But it's to me, it's like you're right too. I mean, you look at the Chargers, and I just love. I mean, Jesus, Khalil and Bosa.
Hmm?
Like, what happens when they line them up on the same side, right? What happens if they line up Khalil Mack inside and Bosa on the outside, and they're just working that right guard, right tackle, left guard, left tackle? I mean,
I'm not saying a young Melvin Ingram is what Khalil Mack was in his prime, but Khalil Mack, I'm not going to say he's not in his prime. I'm not giving bulletin board material at that point. But Melvin Ingram, when he was at the Chargers, him and Joey Bosa running off the same side, doing those games and stunts, that was something that I talked to our offensive coordinators about every time we played him because of how deadly those guys were. When they were on the same side, that was a problem. So you saying Khalil Mack, it's not like they haven't faced that before, but yes, that is absolutely a problem.
No.
Then they have playmakers on the back end. They've got the young corner, Samuel. They've got J.C. Jackson, who's a ball hawk. Derwin James is an absolute playmaker. And so, yeah, like all of that is a problem. And Nick, we haven't had a chance to record together. I know I talked about this with Tucker, and I know I've talked to this about the lab guys kind of off to the side because they're nerdy and they get all into that stuff.
Yes, they do.
But awesome. I thought it's not a move that's going to happen. And I would have laughed so hard if the rest of the division makes all these moves to get these corners and these pass rushers, and Andy Reid trades for Christian McCaffrey. The reason why is you can spend all these money. You can lock up our guys on the outside. And Andy Reid just says, you know what? Can your linebacker cover Christian McCaffrey? Because if not, all this money you just spent ain't going to matter if we're running all these little like Texas routes out of the backfield and your edge rushers are having to slow down because they're worried about McCaffrey going this way or that way. That would have been like the chess move. Now, Christian McCaffrey's got a lot of money. It would have taken a lot of stuff to get him. I just remember thinking like, it would have been a very Andy Reid-like thing to be like, you guys can do all this, and I'm just going to make this one move, and all the GMs are going to stare at each other and be like, fuck.
Or they could run the ball more, BJ. That's what they could do.
That ain't going to happen.
You know, do I need to let that go? I feel like, you don't think
ask every Philly fan from 2001 on. Like, everyone has said that every time, whether it's Brian Westbrook or LaShawn McCoy, it was Jamal Charles, whatever it was, like, he needs to run the ball more.
Damn it.
He's not going to. And with Patrick Mahomes, slants are basically runs.
Like, I don't count that.
But we did talk like without Tyreek Hill, maybe it's less RPO than we have seen in the past. And that's getting into what the lab talks about. And if you haven't had a chance, go listen to the lab guys. If you listen to this episode, I'm pretty sure that you listen to everything that they do because they're putting out 2 shows a week. But a lot of fun. So Nick, we've got our matchups. Do we have any final thoughts before we let everyone go here?
Just to me, I just love when I was playing divisional games, they counted. And it's like, it's weird how you can, as a player, you don't feel rivalries, but when you play divisional games, right, you see them twice a year. So there's some hatred, there's some commonality there. And it's like, I still to this day can't root for Seattle. It's tough to root for Seattle because Lockett's on there. So I'll root for him for sure. And then it's not tough to root for Arizona or LA. Like, I think Arizona always have, to me, they're my favorite team because they drafted me. So I still feel that sort of kind of hatred within that division for the Niners, for everyone, you know, for Seattle.
I don't have the same hate for Chargers because I lived in San Diego and there were a bunch of like just casual fans. Like, there were a bunch of transplants out there. So there weren't like a lot of diehard, like angry Chargers fans. And the fact that my least favorite player of all time, Bill Romanowski, never played for the Chargers. He played for the Raiders and he played for the Broncos. So got nothing for them. And I pretty much dislike everyone except for like those little storylines we get into. Like, I'm going to root for wherever Baker Mayfield goes because of the storylines. Like, I'm rooting for Baker. I want him to go to Pittsburgh. And I swear to you, if Baker Mayfield goes to the Steelers, I don't know what's going to happen. The ratings of if he plays and Deshaun Watson plays, like, and isn't suspended, like, he better be suspended. But like, if he ends up playing this year at all, if those two guys go at it, it better be in prime. If not, it'll be flexed and they'll break rules to flex a game like week 4.
Week 4. Yeah, the week 4 flex.
Oh, he'll be suspended through week 4. So it'll be like a week 10.
Yeah, exactly.
But that could break records for people tuning in just to see what happens.
And it's right too. And like we talked about before the show, man, imagine playing hurt as a quarterback and your team still dunking on you, still seeming like not kicking.
And it's used against you.
Yeah.
And then everything that you did out on the field is used against you, from the analytics, that all the next gen stats and all those little sensors they wear, and be like, oh, you're not as strong. It's like, yo, no shit, I'm hurt. Like a torn labrum. Like I got all these problems. And you have all these guys like Bobby Stroop and Andrew Spruill and all these, physical, these athletic trainers and all these people that work with guys who said, yeah, when you have this kind of injury, it's going to affect these things. They're going to not make it as good. It's severely fucked up that then the organization will use that against them as a reason not to pay you, or, hey, we're going to move on because you really struggled last year. Yeah. I played through injury. Like
that's why guys don't play. That's why kids, we don't play through injuries, right? Because the team don't care about you. They'll move on. They
use the fact that you will play through an injury, not for the team, but for the guy next to you.
Yeah.
Like that's why guys do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the teams that do that, and we saw Frank Clark do it. I've talked about it on the show, playing through injuries, playing hurt. It means something to the guys in that locker room, whether fans see it or not, or they know everything that players are going through. The players in the locker room see it. And so you only get about 15% of what's actually going on out there.
Exactly.
That is promoted.
And you talk as players too, man. You see each other all the time.
They know.
So it's got a feeling. Like it's a feeling. It's bad juju. And you know what? Karma's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll see if the football gods reward Cleveland or not.
Nobody else is. So that's definitely a storyline to follow, but we appreciate everybody for tuning into this episode. If you're listening to this on Monday, don't forget to catch The Lab going live. Kent Swanson, Craig Stout, and Maddie Lane, 6:30 on all of our KC Sports Network channels. They will be breaking down everything Chiefs related and what's going on, from the draft to free agency, who's still out there, who's going to play edge, all of those good things. Lab guys will take care of that for you. And we'll have the rest of our shows. Jeff Allen will be doing his one-on-one, answering questions for you guys throughout the week, and plenty more content. We've got a lot of special things for you. We've got a new partner that we hopefully will announce this week. And I know I'll tease this for everybody that's hung with us 47 minutes in. We talk about this a lot, that we have a lot of things going on this year. There are 6 Chief shows that we will have weekly this fall that we have not announced yet. There is a lot of really, really cool stuff coming on the Chief side and across the entire network. New partners, new shows, new video series, new hosts coming in that you don't yet know about. It's a really cool time. We appreciate all your support. So please, if you're listening on audio, go ahead and follow us and subscribe to us on Apple or Spotify podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. We've got KCSN 24/7 running now. So if you miss the show live, you don't listen to the podcast, go to our YouTube channel. You can pop it on and get all the reruns and live shows, everything streaming throughout. You can leave it up during the day and listen to us throughout the day to get your Chiefs fix. But we appreciate you listening to this episode. We appreciate Trade Coffee for everything that they do. And obviously we appreciate Jack Stack Barbecue for being the OG sponsor here and making all of this possible here for KC Sports Network. Appreciate you, Chiefs Kingdom, for tuning in. I'm BJ Kissel. That's Nick Leckey. And we will catch you next time.